Leadership is not just about being a leader. In order to become an effective and efficient leader, you must be knowledgeable. More importantly, you must be aware about what particular leadership style you should apply in your organization to attain success. Today, I will present to you the contingency theories that will tell us what are the different styles of leadership, how important they are in an organization, and why they should be considered. Successful leadership occurs when the leader's style matches the situation. It is always important, though, to remember that the leader's decision and actions must be relevant to the organization. Of course, his decisions must contribute meaningfully to the success of the organization, and his ideas must always be in line with the organization's needs. Moving on, we have here the various theories related to the situational approach to leadership. First, we have the Continuum of Leadership Behavior by Tannenbaum and Schmid. The second one, the Contingency Leadership Model by Fiedler. The third one, the Path Goal by House and Mitchell. The Hershey-Blanchard Situational Leadership Theories, Leader-Member Exchange Approach by Graham, Normative Decision Model by Vroom and Jago, and the last one is the Mosaic-Rayman Model. And later on, I will discuss those one by one. But first, let's talk about Continuum Leadership Behavior. It is developed by Robert Tannenbaum and Warren H. Schmid. It consists of 7 alternative ways for managers to approach decision-making depending on how much participation they want to allow subordinates in the decision-making process. So basically, we have to remind ourselves that not all the times we have to accept suggestions coming from the subordinates, because there are times na only the decision of the manager are relevant in the situation. Actually, a manager is characterized according to the degree of control that is maintained by him. That's why we have here the alternative behaviors of the leader. Starting with the first one, we have the manager makes decision and announces it. So basically here, the idea is that the manager identifies a problem, chooses a decision, and announces this to subordinates. The subordinates are not a party to the decision-making process, and the manager expects them to implement his decisions as soon as possible. The second one, we have the manager sells decision. So here naman, the decision is chosen by the manager only. But he understands, of course, that there will be some amount of resistance from those faced with a decision, and therefore makes effort to persuade them, of course, to accept the decision made by the manager. The third and the fourth one actually have the same idea. Though the problem is identified by the manager, it does not take a final decision. The problem is presented to the subordinates, and the solutions are suggested by the subordinates also. The last one, we have the manager identifies or defines the limit within which the decision can be taken by the subordinates, and then makes the final decision along also with the subordinates. According to Tannenbaum and Schmid, if one has to make a choice of the leadership style which is practicable and desirable, then his answers will depend upon the following 3 factors. First, we have the forces in the manager. So basically here, the behavior of the leader is influenced by his personality, background, knowledge, and experience. So these factors include, of course, the value systems, the confidence in subordinates, feelings of security in an uncertain situation, and many more. The second one, we have the forces in the subordinate. So here, the personality of the subordinates and their expectations from the leader influences their behavior. So the factors here include the strength of the needs for independence, knowledge and experience to deal with the problem, and understanding and identification with the goals of the organization. So basically, if these factors are on a positive side, then more freedom can be allowed to the subordinate by the leader. The last one, we have the forces in the situation. The environmental and general situations also affect the leader's behavior. These include factors like type of organization, group effectiveness, nature of the problem, time pressure, and of course, environmental factors. Moving on to the second one, we have the contingency leadership model, which is developed by Fred Fiedler, which proposes that effective group performance depends on the proper match between the leadership styles, and the degree to which the situation favors the leader. So of course, no, whether the leadership style is good, if it doesn't match the situation of the organization, you should not expect effective performance coming from that. So Friedler measures leadership style through the use of the least preferred coworker scale. So in order to determine how favorable the leadership environment is, Friedler maintains that it will depend on the three factors. We have first the leader-member relations, which refers to the degree of confidence, and respect followers have in their leader. So basically, if you have gained the trust, the confidence, and the respect of your followers, you can call yourself an effective leader. If not, no, of course, you are an effective leader. The second one is the task structure. It refers to the extent to which the task our followers are engaged in are structured. The third one, we have the position power, refers to the power inherent in the leadership position. Kasi if you are the leader, more likely you will have the authority. So if you don't have the authority already, that means no, na hindi ka na effective leader. So basically, they will not follow your instructions. They will not be afraid no na hindi ka hindi i-follow yung mga utos mo. And worse, they will leave the organization. The third one here we have is the path goal model, developed by Robert House and Terence Mitchell, that states that the leader's job is to create a work environment through structure, support, and rewards that helps employees reach the organization's goal. So we have here the two major roles involved. The first one, we have the creation of a good orientation. And the last one, we have the improvement of the part toward the goals so that they will be attained. So this is the holistic process on how we are going to attain or reach the goals of an organization. So first, the leader must identify the employee needs so that appropriate goals are established. With that, the leader connects rewards with goals. Of course, no, we cannot deny the fact that the employee will be more motivated if he knows that he will be rewarded if he performs well. So, the leader now provides assistance on employee path towards goals. Of course, no, if the employee already know that there will be rewards, after that he will be convinced not to accept the idea of the leader, and then the leader now will provide assistance. So if the employee know that he will be rewarded at the same time assisted, the employee become satisfied, of course, and motivated to fully accept the leader. Of course, if they know na, okay, maganda yung leader natin kasi magbibigay ng awards, and then mag-a-assist, so who would decline that particular style of leadership? So with that, effective performance occurs. Of course, outcome will be both employees and organization are better able to reach their goals. House and Mitchell identified 4 leadership behaviors. First, we have the directive leader, which the leader lets followers know what is expected of them, schedules works to be done, and gives specific guidance as to how to accomplish tasks. Actually, no, for me, this is an ideal one because the employee will be guided when and how to work things out. Kasi nga, no, you are already given the guidance, the schedule of your work, and the standards of the leader is already presented. So you're expected to follow all of them. The second one is a supportive leader, which is the leader is friendly and shows concern for the needs of followers. Actually, this is self-explanatory, but for me, no, it is actually good because if your followers and you as leader have good connections, basically mas magaan yung trabaho because the followers will not be hesitant to ask questions from you because you are considering their concerns and needs. The participative leader is the third one. The leader consults with followers and uses their suggestions before making a decision. So here, the leader will ask suggestions coming from the subordinates or the followers in order to gather information that are crucial in the decision making. Actually, this is good because sometimes, not all the time, na mas maganda yung suggestions ng members natin kumpara sa ating leader. So, if that's the case, no, if the leader is participative, more likely magaganda yung outcome because there will be a lot of suggestions presented and then marami kang choice na magiging basis mo in order to create decisions. The fourth one is the achievement-oriented leader. The leader who sets challenging goals and expects followers to perform at their highest level. More likely, if you are being challenged, no, it will drive you to work harder. It will motivate you to look for better ideas in order to perform well in your field. So basically, with that, high performance is expected. Moving on, we have the Hershey-Blanchard situational leadership theory developed by Paul Hershey and Kenneth Blanchard. It suggests that the leader's style should be determined by matching it with the maturity level or readiness of each subordination. The leader must know followers' readiness and then use a leadership style that fits the level. So when we say readiness, it refers to the ability and willingness of subordinate to take responsibility for directing their behavior. So it is consists of two concerns. We have the job readiness or task competence. The second one is the psychological readiness or the commitment. So when we say task competence, are the employee competent enough to accept the kind of leadership being introduced to them? Are they ready enough to fulfill the roles na require sa kanilang leader? Because we have to be mindful always na it should be match, no, sa leadership style and then sa readiness ng ating mga employees. Kasi whether maganda yung type of leadership, if the employee itself is not ready, it's not open, it's not competent enough and committed enough, then all of those will be useless. So, based on the following, subordinates may be classified as follows. First, we have those with low competence and low commitment will belong to D1. Those with low competence but with high commitment, D2. Those with high competence but with low commitment will belong to D3. And lastly, we have those with high competence and high commitment will belong to D4. We also have here the 4 leadership styles available to leaders by Hershey and Blanchard. The first one is the directing style. This is actually best for low follower readiness. The direction provided by this style defines roles for people who are unable and unwilling to take responsibility themselves. No, it actually eliminates any insecurity about the task that must be done. So, if your employee are unwilling rather, and unable, so basically, you can use the idea of directing style. So the leader must give direction to those who are unable and unwilling so that they will be able to know what exactly they need to do. So the second one is the coaching style. These are this is good for those with low to moderate followers. So this style offers task direction and support people who are unable but willing to take task responsibility. So it is different kasi when we say unable but willing. Because pwede mo yung turuan they are unable but you can still teach them because they are willing to learn. So it is actually good because though they are unable again, if turuan mo yun, they will become later on able and at the same time willing. The third one is a supporting style, best for moderate to high follower readiness. Able but unwilling followers require supporting behavior in order to increase motivation. So there are employees naman na though they are able but they are unwilling to do things. Basically, kasi kulang sila ng motivation. So, the leader can actually have this style of leadership, which is the supporting style, so that their employees will be motivated to do things, to take responsibilities. So, the fourth one is a delegating style, best for high readiness. This style provides little in terms of direction and support for the task at hand, allows able and willing followers to take responsibility for what needs to be done, So no, wala na kasing problem masyado if your employee is able and at the same time willing. So maybe you can just give a little direction, a little advice to them, a little terms that they need to be reminded of, so that they will be still guided though they are able and willing already. So we also have here the leader-member exchange approach developed by George Graen, and his associates which recognize that leaders develop unique working relationships with each group members. Leaders and their followers exchange information, resources, and role expectations that determine the quality of their interpersonal relationships. Kasi no, if there is a good connection between the leader and the member, mas i-encourage mo yung members mo to share information with you, so that they will contribute din kasi when it comes to decision making, if ever may problem man na kinakaharap yung company nyo or yung organization nyo. So basically that's an ideal one, kasi nga the leaders and the members share the same resources, and that resources are from the organization itself. So no, dapat they share the same goal. We have the normative decision model by Victor and Philip Yaton. It views leadership as a decision-making process in which the leader examines certain factors within situation to determine which decision-making style will be most effective. So kasi nga may mga leaders kasi na very strict, very particular sa pag-decide. Basically, lalo na pag malaki yung mga companies, you cannot just decide abruptly. You have to think of many styles pa, you have to try a lot of things, maybe because this might be a great loss for your organization. So we have the 5 decision-making styles presented by the normative model. First, the autocratic one. The leader individually solves the problem using the information already available. So no, again, hindi lahat ng leader no, na gina-require ang sarili nila to ask for suggestions coming from their subordinates. Kasi nga, ang type ng pagka-leader na ito is, siya ang magde-decide. Siya ang bahala na mag-utilize sa mga available na information sa kanya. So that, so that siya na ang mag-decide kung ano man ang kanyang gagawin sa problem, paano niya i-solve ang problem. The second is the autocratic leader. Number 2, the leader obtains data from subordinates and then decides. So unlike to the first one, no, ito naman yung leader na open for suggestions. He will use the suggestions of its subordinates so that he will be able to gather a lot of suggestions, a lot of informations in decision making. The third one is the consultative one. The leader explains the problem to individual subordinates and obtain ideas from each before deciding. So, meron kasing process na tinatawag na iniisa-isa ng mga leaders yung subordinates. Kasi nga, may mga time kasi na pag you are surrounded by a lot of people, you will not be able to have the complete focus. Kasi nga, a lot of suggestions are introduced to you. So, it is actually good if isa-isahin mo silang kausapin so that you will be able to comprehend all of those suggestions coming from that one person and then to another again. The fourth one is the consultative second leader. The leader which grew with groups of subordinates to share the problem and obtain inputs and then decides. Actually, it has the same idea with the second one. Kasi nga nag-a-ask pa rin siya ng suggestions coming from the subordinates and then decide with the subordinates. The fifth one is the group second. The leader shares problem with groups and facilitates a discussion of alternatives aiming to reach a group agreement on a solution. So unlike here naman unlike with the other na nauna na yung though mag-gather siya information coming from the subordinates, the final say is sa leader pa rin. Pero here kasi dapat agree yung lahat, agree yung subordinates mo sa kung anong mang balak mo i-decide. Mosaic-Rayman model developed by John P. Mosaic and Bernard C. Rayman. It suggests that participation behavior is concerned with the degree to which subordinates are allowed to be involved in decision-making. It is separated from direction, which is viewed as the degree of supervision exercised in the execution of the task associated with carrying out the decision. So, the same with what I have said earlier, no? Not all the time the subordinates are allowed to participate in decision making. Basically, kasi hindi lahat ng oras require or need yung kanilang suggestions. To make delegation effective, four leadership styles are considered. First, we have the directive autocrat. The leader makes decisions unilaterally and closely supervises the activities of subordinates. So, ito yung type of leadership na the control is in the leader only. He will make the decisions, he will supervise the activities of the subordinates also. The second is the permissive autocrat. The leader makes decision unilaterally but allows subordinates a great deal of latitude in execution. So though the decision is given by him only, no, the subordinates can still participate but in the execution of the decision coming from the leader. The third one is the directive democrat. This leader wants full participation but closely supervises subordinate activity. No, meron na silang ng employees or subordinates, meron na silang participation sa decision making, but no, may part pa rin yung leader na siya yung mag-supervise sa subordinate activities. And then the fourth one rather, the permissive democrat. These leaders allows high participation in decision making and execution. So dito naman, unlike sa mga nauna ko na sinabi no, na though may participation pero hindi masyado. Here naman, may participation at the same time meron ding part sa execution. So basically, their opinions, their suggestions are being heard, and at the same time, they are the ones who will execute the decision. So, when we say autocrat kasi and then democrat, it has the same idea with what do we call this? Democratic countries and then authoritarian, no, leadership. Kasi when we say democratic country, the people have the freedom to decide on their own, to execute their own decisions, to create their own decisions, whether it is for good or it is for bad. And on the other hand, the authoritarian leader, no, of course, the final say is in the authority, the leader, I mean. So actually, you can just associate your ideas when you are confronted with this kind of model. You can just search for it in the Google for more information, and then that's it. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy the presentation and you learn from it. So the reporters